Welcome to The Push on Taste Radio, Lit Live. It's your host, Ogee Money, where we push the culture forward tastefully. You've heard me say this many a times. This is the home of spitters and lyricists. So today I'm in rare form. This is going to be a special interview. Really is. I'm saying it at the top because I have an elite MC. Elite.
I appreciate that.
I mean that. I really mean it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And we're just going to jump into it, man. I got Dawn Trip.
Indeed.
Championship trip.
Indeed.
Championship trip.
Indeed.
So the first thing I want to say to you is long live Piff.
Man, true that.
This has been ingrained into my head because of how well you represent him inside your music, bro. So I purposely didn't really speak to you before we got into it because I wanted to save it, but
I can dig it.
I had to tell you, and I don't say this just to say it, that's not how I do. Like, currently, you are the MVP of my personal playlist at this point. The volume of high quality art is extremely inspiring.
Yeah.
There are three areas of impact for me that the music had as I absorbed it, right? First, as a man, because I think you make music for men, you know?
True that.
Young men, not boys, young men or men. Secondly, as a fan of the art form and culture. And third, as a creative, because, the interviews, this is my work. I take it seriously, and I tell you take it seriously, Don. So the journey, man. We want to talk about your journey. How you feeling?
Hey, man, I'm alive. I cannot complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just for, those who may or may not be familiar, a lot more people are familiar than not, but you're extremely versatile MC. Memphis, Tennessee.
Indeed.
Whose song Letter to My Son went what they would call viral during that time, right?
One of the they tell me it's one of the first records to even accomplish the viral sensation. So back during that viral phase, and that was I was listening to it earlier. I'm like, man, I was very passionate too. Yeah. It hits me. I have children and they don't all live with me and understanding these situations. Yeah. But a whole lot of bitches you throw at that too. That came from the heart. Yeah, buddy.
It
definitely did.
Yeah. So and that was what, like 13 years ago, right?
15
years ago 15. At this point when you did it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with that right here. At that point, when you wrote that, your son, how old was your son?
This record's in 2009. He might have been a couple months old. It really picked up a year later. So he had to be like a couple months old. He was born in 2009, and the record was originally recorded in 2009.
Now with that, you wrote that in a different place in your life, and you were true to yourself. Have y'all spoken about that song? Has he ever
Me and him?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. My bad. Earlier this year, I want to say. I don't really know how it came about. Somebody mentioned it, and me and him was, a few of us was in the kitchen, but we was in the kitchen. Somebody mentioned it, and I looked, and I seen the look on his face, and I asked him, like, I've never asked you, and I knew this time would come at some point. So, there's no real way to prepare for it. So I'm like, how what do you think about it, or how do you feel about it? And at first he was reluctant. He didn't really want to say. I could tell, he didn't, he didn't want to offend me. And I let him know it's a safe space. This is, man to young man. And he basically, he let me know he understand. He understand. Of course, he can't relate to what I'm dealing with. Well, what I dealt with, but see, he understood the meaning of the song or the purpose of the song. He just didn't like that. It's basically a diss to his mama, and I can see his point of view. Like I told him, I can respect that. And as I told him, if I had to do that all again, I wouldn't have. You wouldn't have called out a name. And I wouldn't have said her name, but other than that, it would have been the same record. I'm like, what I was dealing with was what I was dealing with. And of course, in hindsight, I see that that my son was going to eventually reach an age where he was going to, have a interpretation of the song himself. But like I explained to him, when I wrote that record, you were a baby that I couldn't see, and I had no other outlet. And, the cards were stacked against me. I fought through it. And of course, today me and his mama have a great relationship now. Yeah. But, we went through a lot of turmoil in order to get to it. And, like I told him that, it was a part of my life. I didn't make it up. It'd be different if, this was like, when people write books and they take the people around them and they fabricate certain things to make the book appeal. I was like, everything I said is what I meant. I was literally going through this, and it became kind of weird because while I was dealing with it, I was becoming famous, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of adjust, I guess, kind of learn how not to wear it on my sleeve, at least, out in the open. And I ain't do too well with that. But I think that's how I got here. Just the fact that I think the reason my music is transparent now is because it was, my break to stardom was from my transparency. And I never really learned how to escape it. So I just embraced it.
It's like a superpower.
True that.
Very authentic, and that draws me to artists. So yeah, and that's a great answer. But 15 years later, you had to deal with it.
Yeah, of course. I know it was gonna come at some point. Once I reached the point where I could spend time with them for real, and to watch him grow up, and you go from I can't wait to see what he becomes. And then at some point I was like, well, shit, at some point I'm going to have to have that uncomfortable conversation. Yeah. But I learned early on in fatherhood. I learned it in life, but I just implemented it in fatherhood. But I guess I'm a person who I don't know, I'm one of the kind of people that we gotta have if there's an uncomfortable conversation to have, that I want to hit it head on. I think those are the most important conversations in life anyway. The uncomfortable conversations. Yeah. So even with that, when it arrived, I ain't try to brush it off and try to figure out a way out of it. Like, it's here. Let's face it. Man, what better time than right here, right now?
Yeah, it's admirable. With that song, at the same time, you were moving, or after releasing it, it led to the XXL cover.
Yeah.
In a major deal.
Yeah.
In the Scope Records. So I'm not here to talk about all the deal and whatnot, because we live in right now, man. But I've heard you discuss your past dealings with a major label, and the situation was fucked up. Straight like that, but it's about moving forward. So what do you feel, or do you feel rather, that the XXL Freshman cover and the success of that song was a gift and a curse?
Definitely. But I think everything is a gift and a curse. Every aspect of our lives is. You could go and buy a fucking Rolls Royce, and in a sense that's a gift, because you worked hard enough to earn that, to accomplish that, and then the day it's time to get the oil change on that bitch, there go your curse. Yeah. So I think everything kind of is a gift and a curse.
Yeah. So in songs like Ignorance is Bliss off Red October,
you
speak on burying your brother,
ungrateful
family members, grandfather that passed, the well running dry, going broke, female in your life skating, but at the same time the kids gotta eat, you needed some help, and this was around, was it 2020?
2020. Oof. 2020 was a tough one. But like I said, I don't know. I think those kind of experiences, I think that's what builds you. I think I'm not really religious at all, but I do believe that I think the saying is to whom much is given, much is tested. Mm-hmm. So I think I try not to complain, try not to dwell on it. I just try to, find a solution for what I can solve, and the things I can't. So, I just have to, swallow it and keep it pumping. Because like you said, with all of that on me, I still have to feed them babies. And, it ain't like they can go get jobs. Even in that sense, that's still my responsibility. And ultimately, like, one of the things that's the trickiest about, me creating broken homes is that I still have to make sure my kids, I still got to make sure that they have the resources to prevent them from growing up the way I grew up. Mm-hmm. And, it's easy to say, I was broke when I was young. There's a reason why I was broke. My mama had the cars stacked up against her. That's a whole nother story. But, mm-hmm. Something happened, cause and effect. We didn't just wake up one day and she couldn't afford it. There were conditions involved. And that, with me being the man of the house, even though I had an older brother, Piff was just into other things. But that left me to be the man of the house. And, that created, that had a domino effect as well. That, that led to the lifestyle that I partook in. I don't know if that's a word or not, but either way, that's what I had to keep in mind now. At first, stepping in, child support was like the worst thing in the world to me. And at some point I just looked at it like, well, this is how I help prevent my son from having to be the man of his house. Cause that's even though we grew up used to it as black men, I know what that feels like. I know what that turns you into. And when he's right now, he's 15. He don't got to worry about his mama's bills. He got to worry about his daddy's bills. And I think that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be, able to focus on school. We other ethnicities, they get to, the children grow up. They get to go off and, I only see it on TV. I don't know many. But, they get to go off and go to college, and embark on, creating their lives. They don't have to stay home and take care of their parents. For us, same for like black athletes. Mm-hmm. They sign sign with the team, and the first thing they trying to do is get their folks out the hood. Yeah. And, they become the cash cow. And, that's how I look at my children. Like, that's the last thing I need is for you to be focused on how we'll survive. That's my job. And, it's a heavy toll, but so be it. I'd rather that than, what did I really accomplish if my son is selling dope at 17? I've been there. If I went through all of that just to continue the cycle, then I failed.
Yeah, you're right. I know I deal with it. I was just talking to my daughter just now, and no matter how much you can be a provider, it's still. And I just text this. I texted to her mother, like, I know they love me. They left everything that I'm doing, but part of me feels like a failure because I'm not there every single day. Because I'm not physically not there certain things, but that's how it is. So going into this interview, man, again, the music is very impactful to me. It was like binging. I was just telling Reggie, like, it's like binging a critically acclaimed show, and it lives up to the hype. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it.
22 albums, 22 months. At this level, you rapping is phenomenal. It's next level. And you put me to the test because I listened to everything multiple times. I had to.
I can dig it.
I'm going with Before the Devil Knows You're Dead today and 11207 James Street right now. Even though
1207.
1207. Yeah, 1207 James Street. Pardon me. Revenge of the Fallen 2 has been heavy rotation.
Yeah.
But those three. You take up a lot of data on my phone.
You
know what I'm saying? But
indeed.
Since proclaiming your independence, when did you find the space to like create comfortably without feeling pressured?
probably like the end of 2022. I used to over plan, over strategize, and it never works. It never helps. It never happens. And they sit and say, all right, I want to make sure I got these 100 pieces together before I move on it. And life prevents that from ever happening. There is no perfect moment. And at some point I realized that, and I was just like, man, you know, fuck it. I don't want to sit still and wait. I'm going to just do what I want to do. And I sat now, you know, somebody asked me one day, they thought I was signed, and they was like, you know, well, when your label gonna let you do something? I was like, my label? I'm my label. And that conversation just lingered in my head, and I was like, you know, nothing is holding me back but me. So I just said, fuck it, fuck all the rules, fuck what anybody else says about it. I'm just gonna do what I do. And I was fortunate enough to find a distribution or a distributor that could keep up with me. And, you know, shout out to Connect. But, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do it at the level that I've done it had it not been for, you know, for them being able to ride with me, you know, along the way. And them being willing to learn with me, because, you know, it's never been done. Even, you know, they got a list of artists that's put out, you know, a tape every month for like a year. But even in those instances, those weren't albums. Those weren't, you know, weren't fully serviced. Those, you know, it was mixtapes. And that's a different story. And in this case, you know, this shit got to be paid for. And, you know, it's you know, it's got to be prepared. It's got to be presented. It's a whole nother lane. You know, and we're in a whole different time right now. So, you know, with that, I just, you know, I sat down and I just got tired of planning. And I just said, man, let's do it. Let's push the button.
How long is this run going to go?
I'm stopping at 24. I think if I go past 24, people going to get too used to it. You know, I don't plan to do this for the rest of my life or the rest of my career. I don't even think that's sustainable. But at the same token, like, this takes up it takes up a portion of my month each month. And you know, not many people understand my process. But if we just say hypothetically, if the tape comes out on the 30th, I started recording it on the 26th or 7th, maybe even the 28th. I'm not really in the studio you know, so if it's 30 days, I'm in the studio for 4 or 5 of them. And the other 25 I spend with my family. And, you know, of course I do the other aspects of this, you know, work. And, you know, they say if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life. I disagree. I think if you do what you love, you'll work every day, because it's what you love. It means more to you. You're going to work even when it's time to clock out, because there is no time to clock out. And that's how I look at this. But at the same token, I have to, you know, I wear many hats. So I got to be a father when it's time to be a father. And I found it easier to be able to split my time if it's designated, so to speak. So I'm not in the studio every day, and, you know, I'm not I don't let both worlds intertwine. So, you know, when it's time to be a father, when I'm at home with my kids, I'm at home with my kids. You know, I'm not done tripped in, you know, in no shape, form, or fashion. I don't even play rap music. Like, I don't play my own rap music. Like, you know, when I'm with my family, I'm Chris. All of that is you know, that's my occupation. It's like, you know, like if you play ball, you don't sit at the house and dribble the ball all day.
Has to be a separation.
Right, you play board games and shit. So,
because not just the kids, you a married man.
Indeed, that's what I'm saying.
She ain't gonna have that.
That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of hats. And, you know, even with that, like, I think I do a good job at it, at balancing it all, but I wouldn't sign on to do another 12 of them, knowing how much it takes.
This is a legendary, it's a phenomenal run, because, and again, man, this is not about any other artist, but runs have gone, and I've listened to a lot of shit. I consume a lot.
Yeah.
Not at this level. Like, this is high level. Super high
appreciate
level.
It.
My nigga JD was like, "Who that nigga going crazy?" I said, "I'm telling you, nigga, this nigga crazy right here. Like, it's different." Indeed. You know, So getting to that Dawn Trip, the married man is the perfect artist to listen to when you with your woman. Like that's what I've been listening to. I had to tell my lady, I'm like, yo, he rapping about his woman, man. She's I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, I don't understand why. I never knew why. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't married, so it never really mattered to me. Mm-hmm. But once I was married, I don't know when it happened, but it just don't feel right to. It don't really feel right to rap about the bitches and the hoes now, because you know, like you said, my music is true to life, and I'd be lying to everybody, including myself, if you know I'm gonna sit here and write this record and I'm talking about, you know, we backstage with the hoes. No, I'm not. I'm not backstage with the hoes. I'm backstage with my wife and my kids. Yeah, and you know. And I looked at it, and just like I look at everything else, like, you know, I don't know why it's, you know, taboo to say, but I'm gonna say it. That's my life, and that's how I got in this, by saying the shit that everybody was afraid to say because it wasn't cool to say. Yeah,
niggas be following, man.
Yeah, so you know, hopefully that becomes a trend in itself, you know, because a lot of these niggas been married since the jump, you know, but we never knew it.
The women too, low key,
right? That's what I'm saying. I see them, they pull it like, but you know, I get it. In entertainment, they say, you know, they want you to appeal. You're supposed to leave the idea that anybody could date you, I guess. Yeah, but I don't think that. Denzel Washington's been married his fucking whole career, and that ain't stopped not one woman from lusting over Denzel Washington. No, it's not. So if that says that I can be who I am, I don't have to, you know, pretend to be something other than who I am. I'm gonna live my life. And at the same token, I learned a long time ago that even though rappers don't acknowledge that the fact that life imitates art, it still does, and the audience does. You know, you can be elsewhere. You know, you can be in the grocery store as a rapper, and you know that person feel like they know you based off your music, but all your music is party shit and Lamborghinis and shit. So when they see you and you don't got on 30 chains and you're not wearing Versace and shit, they tomorrow when they post this shit tonight, when they post this online, you fell off. Yeah, it's all over the internet. You fell off because you look broken here. You got on sweats. Oh, what the hell you doing with sweats on? What, you mean to tell me you drove the Honda to the grocery store, not the Lamborghini? So, you know, when I realized that in life, I'm like, you know, that's the last thing I ever wanted to do in my career was to portray a person that I wasn't. Because at some point, you know, somebody's going to meet me in person and be disappointed if I'm not who I am in my music. Mm-hmm.
You do a great job at it, man. Again, I'm like, yo, your wife has to brag because of how you profess your love. And I told my girl the other night, I said, your box got a new name, is Garfield, Fat Pussy. I got that from Dawn Trip. You know what I'm saying?
I can dig it.
You know what I'm saying? You know, it's out of control, but that's why I fuck with you. You're very clever. You know what I mean? You have all the components of my favorite artists, you know, and I'll get into that. But,
I appreciate that.
So what does a day look like at home when you just Chris with the kids?
Man, my day.
You got a lot of kids too, right?
Definitely. I got 8.
There you go.
I got 6 biological, 2 bonus.
Oh yeah. Blended families.
Yeah, definitely. And those 2 come from previous relationships. So, you know, it's complex. But my wife stepped in this with so 7, me having 7 children technically. And we just had he's about to be 2 now. Mm-hmm. But, you know, at home I'm dad and Chris. A typical day, shit for me, I'd still take my kids to school. I still, you know, and pick them up from school. I don't do it. Nothing I do is flamboyant. So, you know, I don't go pick them up and make sure everybody saw Dawn Trip pick the kids up. I think that's a fucking safety hazard. But no, I do the father. You know, I'm a father in every sense of the word. I would say, the typical. You know, it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing fantastic, you know. I won't say that because I love it, but you know, you get what I'm saying. You know, it's not like I'm doing shit that fathers aren't doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing exactly what fathers are doing.
Yep.
It's just not what rappers are doing, if that make any sense.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times I see, we see it all the time. We see rappers that, some of them don't even mention having kids and they got kids. That's for them, not for me.
Yeah.
But, when I'm at home, we cook dinner. I ain't no chef in no shape, form, or fashion. So, of course, my kids criticize my cooking. We do all kinds of shit, the board games, the coloring books, the outside activities, everything.
A lot of stuff that you could have missed out on.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. And I work hard with the relationships with their mothers to create a schedule, so to speak. So for maybe I really can't say. But since I could start seeing my children, then I get all of them. I get them every other week, but I get every one of them. It's not, I don't see this one every other day, or, barely see this one and that kind of shit. I get them all together. I feel strongly about them all being able to grow up together. Because the last thing I wanted was for, I don't want them to be 20, and say, oh, I just met our other sister that, we got the same dad. I met her. I didn't even know I had a sister. That was the last thing I wanted. I actually, in my 30s, met two sisters I never knew I had, but I never knew my dad. So ain't no way, there's no way I would have known that. And that's a weird thing because it's impossible to make up the time, but the time is so important. I wish we were closer, but the only way we would have been closer was to grow up with each other. And that didn't happen. And I feel like, that made me look at my biological father in a different light. I already, I don't know him. So, my opinion of him ain't positive in any shape, form, or fashion. But I always looked at it like you abandoned me. And, to meet them as an adult, like, damn, you abandoned us all. You abandoned, it's three of us and you abandoned them, at least for what I know right now. Yeah. It could be more. I would hope not. But, seeing that kind of, that was inspiration, so to speak, for me to never create that same, that same environment with my children. I want them to be able to grow up with each other and understand, family is important, but not so important that, I don't know if everybody's taught this, but I know we were, family's everything, that's your cousin, you're going to go to hell and back for your cousin. That sounds great until you reach a certain age and you realize, people are people still. Shit, fucking Jeffrey Dahmer got a cousin. I don't mean, let's hang with Jeffrey Dahmer because he's my cousin.
Yo, listen, 22 albums in 22 months. Yeah. For anyone that's listening and that understands, his life is in the music.
True that.
The life is in the music, know? So the more I listen, you can take one project and just sit here. I can sit an hour with one project because of how complex and the layers are to it. Yeah. So with that, right, when you started releasing, and when did things change? Because you went from having a rough 2020 to getting distribution, and throughout the music, it sounds like shit is going really well now, Don Tripp. It's like you have a serious cult fans and people don't play about you.
Well, I think what happened, it was like a, what do you call them shit, like an avalanche, like a snowball effect. And like I said earlier, I realized at some point the only thing, the only obstacle is me. So, when I started releasing the projects, I never promoted it as though I was about to release a project every month. I say, hey, tape's coming in January. And then after I dropped that tape in February, hey, a tape's coming in February. And people are like, oh shit, he putting out 2 tapes this year. And then March, and then April, and then, we just kept going. And people was like, shit, hold up. He put out how many tapes? And man, at some point, it was like it was like feeding a hungry crowd. Like my fan base was dying for it, so to speak. And shit, now I think I got them spoiled. But you know, that was my reward. Like, you know, I'm the biggest now than I've ever been in my career. And, you know, I attribute that to the work ethic, and hard work beats talent. So, you know, I just got up and I said, you know, shit, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's not wait. Let's not try to figure every piece out. Let's just go in it. I looked at my career the way I looked at my career on 2K. And I'm like, you know, when I'm playing this shit, like I see people all the time that like be online and shit, like they got like 19 fucking builds. They trying to make the perfect person and shit. They know all the ways to cheat and do it and all that kind of shit. And I understand that, but that's not how I live. And that's not how I play the game. The way I play it, I turn it on, I create my player, and then I go. All right, I might not be the best fucking shooting guard or point guard or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. Shit happens. I might lose some games. It happens. It is what it is. That's life. So, you know, I kind of use that same aspect when it came to my career. I'm like, man, you know, if I play the game this way and, you know, I enjoy it, why not enjoy my actual career? Yeah. And, you know, why sit and try to plan all these things out? So some of the surprises that's going to occur are needed. You know, you sit down and you try to figure it. It's like, you know, we see it all the time, mostly in film, but, you know, like you go on a trip with your woman and she playing every second out. Mm-hmm. And ain't no such thing as fun if we planned out every second. We left no room for, you know, for I don't know what the fuck you call that. But, you know, we left no room for it to be spontaneous. And, you know, you can only enjoy a spontaneous moment. So, I had to kind of build my career the same way. Like, I don't want to sit and it's so planned out that there's no room to enjoy it. We going, you know, we got the plan. There go the game playing out. Let's see what happens. Like a football play. Mm-hmm. There's no way you're going to know. You know, you can, for the most part, predict from behavior which way they might go. But ain't no way for you to really know. If that were the case, then, you know, when you're watching football, the fucking score would be 100 to 100 because both teams know exactly what the other team is going to do, but you don't. And, you know, for every step of the way, like, you know, you might be anticipating him to juke left when you're going for that tackle. And he don't juke at all. He just run your ass right over. And that's life. So I kind of look at it like that now. I don't sit and try to get it all figured out. We just let's take off. Let's go and see what happens.
Let me tell you, in this game and in radio, there's going to be routine and artists and a single and project and this. When I saw it, I'm like, I don't know what this nigga promoting. He drop every month.
Yeah.
And the music is like the body, but do you feel that like your fans choose the songs?
They do.
Like so like say less.
Well, see, the way I look at music, I don't believe in singles.
Yeah.
I get it when you sign to a record label. That's how you compete for who's the most important on that record label. But I'm my record label. So for me, whether you start to like the song today or you like it 10 months from now, you still like the song. I still created the song. So that's still my reward. Again, Letter to My Son picked up a year later. Had I been sitting and waiting for the moment, I would have gave up on this. But that's not my philosophy. And I think that when it comes to music, which this is why I try to make sure my music is true to me, I think that you don't pick the music that you like. It picks you. You know, if you sat right now and you scrolled the internet and you said, man, I'm just looking for a new artist to like, you'll never find anything to like. All that shit gonna be nothing. But when you moving, you know, when you moving and music is playing on its own, that's when it grabbed you. Whatever you like, you heard it. Even if you played it on purpose, you heard it on accident. You like it because you like it. It didn't come on and you say, oh man, this is gonna be my favorite song right here. No, you played that song, you listened to it, you liked it, and you know, at some other moment in your life, you said, man, you know, that song is in my head. I want to hear the so-and-so song. Or I'm dealing with something right now And while you was dealing with it, you heard this record and you heard that you ain't the only one that's dealing with it. You heard that you ain't the anomaly. You ain't the black sheep that you think you are, because no one talks about, not many people talk about what we actually go through. It's embarrassing. And, it's a whole lot easier to make music about the fun shit or, the shit that's glorified. And I don't know. I just, with that, I start at some point I understood it. Letter to My Son is a record that's not an appealing record. If you like Letter to My Son, it's because you can relate to it. And that alone told me or showed me that, that's my lane. That's the music that I should make. The music, my life, even though, I in a sense, I feel like I'm a one of one. What I go through ain't, it ain't singular. Shit. This is shit that we all face, and it don't really matter what shade you are. This is life. Yeah.
And even sitting here with you, right? Because when I go through my process with artists, I dig, and it's the music. Yeah. But then sometimes I can go based off of the fan and what I'm trying to pull out, and I'll be like, damn, I forgot the nigga promoting the single. Don't forget the single. So. But you, again, with the bodies of work, and I'm going to ask, so what's the next installment?
The tape is titled Yours Truly. And after that, just stay tuned. I'm going to I got some more tricks in my bag.
Yo, and that was my Facebook name, Yours Truly. You're L nigga. Not look, Don Trick. They're gonna have to pull me out of this chair because I'm gonna talk to you until you say, yo, wrap it up, because
it's all good.
So like playlists, like just after you speaking of songs, right? Because I told you this is a special interview. It really is. I'm gonna give you a list of songs, and for those who are listening, these are the songs that really helped me define. If you could just pull songs out of different projects, I'm gonna give you Top Floor Freestyle, Crazy, Say Less, Perfectly Flawed, February 31st, Grand Entrance, Session number 38.
Yeah.
Do the Cut.
Okay.
Married with Children. Yeah. Ignorance is Bliss. No Surrender. Popcorn Freestyle. You see, I could keep going. Got a lot going on. But I'm going to hit you with this, right? And since I'm talking about those records, like we talked about 1207 James Street. Yeah. And you talked about like the disdain for your biological father. It's clear, it's evident in the music, right? Yeah. I picked on through it in Piff. But Session number 38, and the physical abuse and the fear that your mother's boyfriend, Mike, had put you and Rick through, very detailed. And then you're saying like your mom's not believing it. It's not even from a place of any type of pity, but like honest reflection. So how important was it for you to express that on wax?
You said how important was it?
Yeah.
I think it was vital. I think to reach that point, that's something I wanted to speak on or speak about many times. And the only reason I haven't up until then is because Piff was alive. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that story is both of our story. And what I didn't want was I didn't want to put that record out and he feel, I can't make him be ready to deal with it or be ready to talk about it or be ready for the world to know it. And we never had that conversation. So that was the last thing I wanted to do. Like I was saying, I didn't want to write the book and put all your business out too. Because, this story is both of our story. So with him not being alive, there was no pullback. I'm like, this is, if I don't tell it, it'll never be told. So I had to say it. And I feel like everything I've been through in my life, whether good or bad, is what got me to where I am now. And that's why I've survived. Because, I've been in a lot of I've been in a lot of situations that, I wouldn't have made shit. I wasn't supposed to live past 18 from where I come from. That shit was, that was a feat in itself. So, to make it this far, I think all those things is why I take everything as a learning lesson. And, whether positive or negative. And that was something that even, like I said a second ago, that didn't just happen. It happened because of something. Yep. There was a reason my mama was vulnerable enough to be with this person. There was a reason why I was vulnerable enough as a child to be abused by this person. And that I speak on in other records. I don't never really sit down and say this is what I'm going to talk about. When they come on, we start playing beats. Whatever happens. But I felt like that was something that was needed. I think in order for you to understand my story, you got to hear my story. Mm-hmm. And what I'm discussing in that song it took place in that house at 1207 James. And in earlier songs I've mentioned, that's like I used to have nightmares that not like scary or fucking ghosts chasing you around. In my nightmare, I would wake up and I'm in this house again. I live here now as an adult. And that was a hellhole. And on top of that, it was small, man. It was so confined. And this is no shot at my mama. She had to survive like just like everybody else had to survive. It ain't like she said, I'm gonna wake, like she woke up one day and said, hey, I'm gonna be broke. But either way, in that nightmare, that's why it was a nightmare. It's because in life, I digressed. I went backwards. So that became part of my drive. I know there's no physical way I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna live there again, but I never want to be in that space. And when I'm with my kids, those kind of things kind of pop in my head. Like I can't see how a person would mistreat this, such a precious being. And that shit just spilled out in the music. And the way I create my music, I don't really do I don't filter it. I don't go back and say, well, maybe I should change this line. It's records. If you go back, it's probably 200 records now. If you go through them records, there are places in those records where I might have fucked a word up, and I don't give two shits. I don't care. I feel like that's why art is appreciated. When you go to a museum, you see the people that's staring at the paint on the wall, and if you ever met a true art connoisseur, they don't like the painting because it's perfect. They like it because of the flaws. Yeah. And that's how I treat, that's how I treat the music. So I feel like that's a record that's needed for you to understand. It's just a piece that's vital for you to understand, Don Tripp.
Well, Tripp, I'm a fan of art, and that's one of the reasons I love your music. And I feel that gives an insight into the reason why you're such a family man. You value your family and kids. So, but with that, I'm gonna let you tell the people how they can get in contact with you, and I'm hoping we can sit down and do this again.
Oh, indeed. If you're looking for me, all my social media, I don't know which one of them things I'm looking at, but my social media is this one. Oh shit. It's Mr. Don Tripp, MRDONTRIP. You type that in, you'll get everything you're looking for. And man, as far as this, man, it's anytime, man. I appreciate when people appreciate me or, and what I do. So, that shit go a long way with me.
Well, look, two of my favorite artists are named Christopher Wallace, my brother.
Oh, indeed. Hey, you know what? Funny thing about that. If it wasn't for Puff Daddy, my name would have been Christopher Wallace. When I tried, this is before Puffy, before I had ever met Puffy, I was trying to. They had like a fucking it was like a I don't want to call it a showcase. It was like a contest or some shit. You like send you music to Bad Boy or some shit. And my shit got turned down like 3 or 4 times, and it was getting rejected because my name was Christopher Wallace. I wanted my rap name to be my real name. Mm-hmm. And when I finally had met him, fast forwarded, and when I finally met him in person, I asked him about him. Like, originally, I intended to be Christopher Wallace, like Kendrick Lamar is Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West is Kanye West. I didn't want to have any gimmick. So, I was sitting with him and I was talking with him. He was like, he vaguely remembered submissions from Christopher Wallace's. And he was like, it's a lot of rappers that's tried that. Mm-hmm. He was like, everybody imitated Biggie. And he didn't know my case specifically, but it was like, if we denied it or ignored it, it's because we assumed that that's what it was after so many of them. And I'm like, man, I grew up listening to Biggie, but in no shape, form, or fashion am I here to mimic Biggie. And, we laughed about it. It was like, it's wild to think what your career would have been had your rap name been your real name the whole time. Because, of course, no matter what, you're going to get the comparison. Oh, yeah. I'm 40. Biggie died in 97.
Yeah.
And people still assume I'm named after Biggie Smalls. It's ridiculous. But, that would have, I think that would have added some layers to it in itself. But I also think that's why I can get the love that I get from the East Coast, or the embrace that I get, because when people find out my real name, and then you realize that in no shape, form, or fashion that I exploit that, because of course I could have went at it, and as a rapper I'm going to use the fact that we share the same name.
Of course, man.
And
Trip, just like you got 200 songs, I got 200 more of these. You got to come back to part two. Part two.
I'm with it.
All right.
I'm definitely with it. I'm with it.
G Money, Dog Trip, man.
Indeed.